And we're here today with Nic Bottomley, the co-owner of Mr. B's Emporium of Reading Delights, a place to discover and talk about books from Bath, UK. Thank you, Nic, for being here with us today.
You're welcome.
For the beginning of our discussion, can you tell the people that are watching us, how did you get to open an independent bookshop? How you took this decision? It was an impulse or it was something you've always wanted?
So it was something in between those two things, I guess. It wasn't something we'd always wanted to do, but my wife, Juliet, and I realized that the jobs we were doing, which we were lawyers, that job was definitely not what we always wanted to do. So we started thinking about what would be a better way to spend the time. You know, you spend at least 5/7 of your life working, and any bookseller will tell you more like 7/7 of your life working. But we decided that we better do that around something that we love. And so we kind of, we were toying around, you know, what could we spend our time with? We both loved books. We hadn't really thought about retail. We hadn't really thought about book selling, but we both loved books. We had a romanticized idea of it, I guess. And then we were on a holiday, on our honeymoon actually, and we went to the Elliott Bay Book Company in Seattle, who I always credit with the kind of spark that got us started with the idea. And we just sort of said, hey, you know, what about a bookshop like that? What independent bookshops like that could really, really do well in the UK and could really, really well, you know, we didn't know of any. There were some, but we didn't know of many ourselves. And what if you had a bookshop modeled on service? And that's what got us thinking about it. So from then on, we researched it and we plowed in. But yeah, the spark was just seeing another great independent bookshop really, and just thinking, hey, this would be a good way to build a career and spend a life. Yeah, I guess I think it's really important that customers know, you know, how hard we all work to deliver the kind of really good service that we do. Not because we want any thanks, from the customer, but because, you know, it's why we appreciate their repeat business. It's why we appreciate it when they buy from us and not from Amazon or something similar. We're putting in a lot of work, and it is based around a passion for books. And so I think it's important. You know, I do not want my customers ever to see us or think that we would have time to kick back and read, you know, because that would mean we'd done everything we could already in terms of shouting about books to them and making the shop beautiful and answering their many emails and their phone calls. You know, that's what we need to be spending our time doing, not using our work time for reading books. But it's very important as well that bookshops are run by people who do love books and who still pick up books and read from them at any spare time they have, and are genuine in their passion for it. That's what makes us different from car salesmen, you know, or car saleswomen, because we love our product. We absolutely love our product. And so what I do love, not reading books or certainly writing or anything like that, or you know, in that kind of old-fashioned way where someone's sitting waiting for a customer and sitting there reading. I think that in the 21st century, that customer would never come if you just sit there reading and waiting for them. But what we do like to do is talk about books. Like the other side is, if any of our team of booksellers are with a customer, then there's nothing I'd rather they were doing than talking about books. It doesn't have to be selling, it's just talking about books. And that's fine, that's great, because that's what it, you know, as you said when you introduced us, you know, our sort of tagline on our website is something around, you know, a place for conversations about books. That's what it's all about. Whether and same if it's two members of staff just having a chat about what they've just read. That's all great. It all feeds this world where we can recommend things to our customers.
Exactly.
Sure. Well, thank you for the kind things as well. And as you know, it's one day I'm going to make it over to see your shop as well, and we're equally excited to see it and spend time in it, and love what you guys are doing. So we do a few things differently. I talk about conversations about books. So certainly compared to a lot of shops in the UK, into our shop, everybody is given the chance to receive a recommendation, to have a conversation. They don't have to. If they want to browse for themselves, that's fine. But like just before you rang, I popped up on the shop floor, and there's lots of conversations going on with customers. That goes on at all the best independent bookshops around the world, I think. But still, even some of the very, very best independents, they don't do it enough. They sometimes, they don't have that constant buzz around books that I think is absolutely crucial. A more formal thing with our reading spa gift, which we do, which is where people can book in one-on-one sessions. It's a gift people buy, and it includes a voucher to spend on books, and they book in to spend time with one of the booksellers, talking about what they like reading, talk about what they don't like reading, and receiving a load of recommendations. It takes an hour and a half in normal times. And they're so popular, and they get booked up so far in advance. And it's a big part of what we do. And we also then do this reading subscription. So everything I guess is geared towards matching the right book to the right customer, matching people to books in as kind of a forensic a way as possible, because anyone can sell someone a book, but if you sell them the right book, that's what'll get them coming back again and again. The right book for them. And it's not everybody likes different things. Events wise, our approach with events, we host events with authors where, again, we're passionate about their work. So we don't kind of take on any events. We just limit ourselves to where we've got a real passion for an author's work and their writing, and that's where we try to we like to be a dialogue rather than just doing one where the author is just sort of up and doing their own thing. And as for 2020, I mean, where do you start in 2020? There's definitely no events, of course. We have done a few online events, and we've done author interviews, in a kind of similar way to what we're doing now. We've done informal chats with writers throughout lockdown over on our YouTube. I think we all as an industry have to be quite patient. The events are great. They have served the purpose. They're particularly good when people are, whatever restrictions are in place, when people really can't go out. But really, I can't wait to be able to have people back in the same room as the writer. That's what people really get the buzz for. Exactly. I think we're kidding ourselves if we think that it's not just it's filling time, the online events. We're not seeing a huge demand for customers right now to spend their evenings on Zoom and YouTube and all of this stuff, as well as their days if they're working that way. So we're not seeing a huge demand for it. We do them again where it makes sense, but won't it be great just to be able to kind of get a glass of wine in a load of people's hands and get them back in a room with a writer? Because we're definitely looking forward to that already.
So do we. What happened for you and for your bookshop during the lockdown that gave you hope in this business and in people? And how can we defend our businesses from online giants and from the online environment that now with the pandemic and lockdowns gain more customers and more income? What about us, the brick and mortar stores?
Yeah. So I mean, our experience, you know, and I kind of look at it from both our point of view and then all the other booksellers I chat to. People did different things here in the UK. We all had to close our physical shops. Some people chose to step back completely. We carried on running our business from kitchen tables, you know, communicating with people through our website, through phone, through email. Some person coming into the closed shop and sending out some books here and there. You know, we did just whatever we could and kept things going. And so the first thing, we saw a huge appetite from customers, bigger than ever appetite to have advice, because they were looking for, which we've always, as I say, I think is so important, whether it was people wanting to understand the pandemic, or more usually it was people wanting escape through books, or happiness, or just wanting to read books that are their comfort books, you know, whatever that might be, whatever subject or type. So we saw a lot of that. So that's a thing of hope, that people reached out to booksellers as experts. You know, I saw that happening. You know, despite the fact that the online giant, that you know, our industry's Voldemort. So yeah, I was going to say that you know, you're right that you know, the big online retailer Amazon will have profited enormously, bigger than ever, from this pandemic. But I think it's also, I don't know how it has been in Romania, but here it has been a push to help bookshops think about how they can reach people through their websites. Of course, no one's going to go build something like Amazon have. Of course, we don't want to become online booksellers. You know, it's much more fun to do the bricks and mortar and to have that connection. But I think we've probably all been forced into a better understanding of how you link the online connection with your customers, and how the physical. So you know, I know lots of booksellers who never got around to having transactional websites, who've hastily got something together. We did that a few years ago. We try to make it a reflection of our shop, and for us, obviously, that worked really well. But even lots of shops who hadn't got around to it have found a way, and they found that they're creating new customers further afield them. So they're building something for the future, you know, a broader range of people that's within the future, not just the people in their town. So I think that's good. We're all widening our market. No one's widening their market as much as Amazon are, but you know, that's kind of, I've never been one for thinking about what's going on with them, and with their business, because we know they'll do all that they can to build it. It's more about what we do ourselves, and how we're confident in what we can do, and what we can do to provide the very best level of service. And I think we've all learned something about new ways to give great customer service, you know, whether it's hand delivering to people who can't go out because they're vulnerable, whether it's speaking to people on through websites, as well as through telephones, as well as through emails. You know, we've got all these different ways. So yeah, I think that's valuable. I have no doubt as well, every movement has a counter movement. And can you imagine, well, one day when we're actually feel confident enough, it won't happen overnight, we know that, but when we feel confident enough to go around without masks, without whatever restrictions are in place, can you imagine the pent up desire to go hang out in bookshops as groups of people? You know, it'll come back. And the way I see it is, I'm more worried about the state of our high streets generally, and whether there are going to be a lot of gaps on the high street. I think that bookshops are going to be crucial, are going to be one of the things that everyone's thinking, what have I missed? And I think they've missed bookshops, is what our customers say. They've missed it when they've not been able to go in. And for 3 months, you know, here, they weren't able to go in at all. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe that's too much hope, and it's not right around the corner, but
no, I don't think it's too much hope. It's what we saw also here when we are closed. People writing to us exactly the same thing, that they miss the bookshop and coming in. Yeah, exactly. And after all these years, after this year, after all these years of owning Mr. B's Emporium of Reading Delights, after all, I know, after the process of running a bookshop, about the people, after the people you've met, after the relationships you formed along the way with your colleagues and with your customers, is there something you would have done different in running it these years?
It's a good question. That's a difficult question. It's always more difficult to think about the things you didn't do. You think about all the great stuff you've done, and no one else. What would I have done differently? I think the thing is, we planned to set up a bookshop that was based around service and based around a love of books. And beyond that, we weren't like that. I guess whenever we've thought of something that we wanted to do, we've tended to do it or have a go at doing it. So if I think about what I would have done differently, maybe all I'd say is I would have there are certain things, like last year we expanded the space and we have a much bigger kids room, and that's really great. And I would love to have been in a position to do that 5 years earlier. But, you know, money and space and time are the things that we all lack to different degrees. Well, I don't know. My American bookselling friends don't lack space. They always have incredible space. But universally, all independent bookshops lack time and money. So, and so I guess it's more about what it would have been even great, you know, what it would have been even, what else could we have done if we'd had more time to push things through? Yeah, I guess we would have pushed through getting youngsters reading by having an even more magical space even sooner than we managed to get it organized. I'd love to be able to, you know, I'd love to be able to have more people into an event within the walls of the shop, you know, but that's not possible with the property. So it's all sort of specific little things. I don't regret at all the approach we've taken and the way we've kind of organically built the business. A lot of people at various points have asked us, would we want to have more bookshops? And that's a route we could have taken, but on a personal level, I don't regret that, because, you know, we're also, Juliet and I, when we set up the bookshops, then we started raising 3 kids. Wasn't the right time for us to do that in this period of the shop. So I don't rule it out ever, but it would have to be for, you know, I don't know, it's more likely to be a collaboration or something. If some opportunity came up that just where a bookshop was needed by a place, then it's always been about, for us, building up this place. I guess I would have done, you know, the thing I mentioned about the subscriptions and all of those things, you know, that's worked really well for us. And maybe we should have started on that even earlier than we did. So it's more about what you prioritize along the way and what you learn from it. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Along the way, there've been all sorts of idiotic decisions as well, like small ones. I'm not I'm not saying that, but I'm assuming you mean the big picture, you know. Yeah. I mean, I'm in a book, some of the shelves behind will represent bad buying decisions, so, you know. And don't have to look too far for that.
So what would you say to someone who thinks of going into the book business by opening a shop or by getting a job at a bookshop? What is your advice to them?
I think treat it as a career. It is a career. It can be a great career, and you can do so much with bookselling. It's so different from other not all forms of retail. I'm not putting down retail, but it's not many areas of retail where the product range, you might add 500 new lines to your product range every month, potentially, you know. That's quite unusual. And so, but also there's just so many possibilities. There's so many ways you can communicate book advice and recommendations. There's so many display things you can do. There's so much creativity in this industry. So I would say, don't treat it like a, you know, if you think about doing it, think about, hey, this could be something, you know, there's all sorts of opportunities, all sorts of strange things, all sorts of, and the other thing is, I'd say to them, you know, as you and I know, they would be thinking about entering the most, I truly believe, the most collaborative industry that there is. You know, it's so interesting to spend time talking to booksellers from different countries. We get the chance, we're lucky enough to get the chance, or to realize that that's a big opportunity, and to make sure that we do that a few times a year in normal worlds. And you can get so much from it, and same here within the UK. Just I think that's really, really rare, because it is in the independent booksellers are kind of a united front, and they kind of rarely compete in a true sort of geographic sense for the same business. So really they are presenting a unite, they're effectively like a team, you know, against the world, and on behalf of book lovers everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I think, like I say, I think the high streets are going to end up after this pandemic full of gaps, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I think that the bookshops can really be keystones in that recovery. I really think that. I think that they will be one of the most sought after tenants, you know, provided they've worked out a way to make it through this. So that's the first thing. They've got a kind of crucial role in the business community, and to help that rebuild of the high streets. But more generally, you know, booksellers are regarded, I talked about the career thing, booksellers are regarded by customers, they're almost like a semi-professional thing. I don't know what it's like at your place, but I bet you get asked everything about, where do I buy this from? Where do I buy that from? You know, it seems like a bookseller is going to know the answer to that. So it's these connections with all those other local businesses. You know, when we're doing our reading spas, we make sure we get cake from a local independent guy who makes cake. You know, we run events for all these other local organizations. We support local authors, support local illustrators, you know, use local people to look after the building, for the fabric of the shop. You know, it's about how you conduct yourself, and your part in the ecosystem, working with all these different people and organizations, and spending your money and you know, wherever you can, at other hardworking independent business owners. That's part of it. And I think, you know, events is usually, in normal times, events is usually a big part of it as well. Events and book clubs and that kind of thing. That's how a bookshop's most obvious route to bringing people together around books, and that's a really important community thing, and it can help with loneliness for a lot of people, and that's a big issue, I think, in 2020 for large chunks of the community.
And because you're in that position, and that's something we always admire, that as an independent bookseller you have such a big and important role in the BA. What do you think about us, the independent booksellers? Are we a dying breed? And how do you see the future of independent bookshops?
I see we're not a dying breed. There's no, you know, I'm going to say that, but we're definitely not a dying breed.
We don't, but a lot of people
we're as a, yeah, I know, but I mean, and nationally here in the UK, and from what I know of lots of other countries around the world, where I've talked to booksellers, I think far from it. I think we're more alive and kicking now than we were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because maybe that image that you kind of painted at the beginning of the bookseller who sits and reads books, and you know, dreams a little, waiting for someone to come buy a book from them. that image is dead, and it's rightly dead. In people who are running bookshops now are highly professional, understand business, or try to. We try to, and you know, are thinking hard about this stuff, about collaboration, about what our industry needs in terms of technology to support our physical shops. You know, we're not taking orders on scraps of paper just because we're a physical shop. You know, they're highly digitized, actually, even the bricks and mortar businesses. Plus, we understand customer service at on an entirely different level to people like Amazon, frankly, to organizations like Amazon. Our collective ability to understand what impeccable customer service represents should not be underestimated. It is a hugely talented and creative pool of people that are running the bookshops of Britain, Europe, and beyond now. So I'm very, very confident in our that bookshops will remain, and that's even aside from the fact that there is, as well as that, we got to say we also have a much better and deeper relationship, I think, with the people who make the books, whether that's the writers, the authors, even the people, you know, we spend a lot of time for the Booksellers Association talking to the people who get the books from the publishers to us, you know, the distributors. We understand things about the supply chain in a far deeper way, so that we're making sure everything can run smoothly, and I think having deepened all that understanding and we're just far better equipped to survive and to thrive, and I really think, I really think there's no doubt whatsoever that independent bookshops are here to stay. And we are helped in that because there's so many great books being written. I mean, don't forget, it is actually all about the books as well. It's all about the customers, but it's all about the books. And publishers are doing a great job as well. And I think if publishers had laid, you know, for a couple of years it looked rocky there when the ebooks first came out, and the publishers got a little distracted maybe. But then there was this counter movement, because there's always a counter movement, to make books more beautiful than ever, more interesting than ever. And while we've got those, and customers still want physical books as well as digital, it's fine. It's all fine in terms of the customer demand and the ability of bookshops to survive. But hey, the other thing is, last thing on it, we're also the most resilient species out there, right? So other areas of retail are just learning that stuff now, but for 24 years Booksellers has been competing with Amazon. We've had a few recessions. We've all, as a society, had the pandemic. Booksellers are frankly, we're far better placed than some other industries when it comes to the pandemic. So we've not had the worst of it there. But we've had recessions. We've had the rise of the ebook. We've had huge expansions of chain bookshops. We've had the rise of Amazon, and somehow bookshops as a whole are still standing. So I reckon it'll continue for a long time to come.
Nic, are you here?
Yeah,
Can you hear me? Yep. Hi. Do you hear me?
How are we doing? See you again.
And lockdowns. Did you hear my question, or should I start again? You're back in, Nic. Can you hear me? Let me see.
Yeah, I think there's, but I think it was, yeah, no, you know, it's important. It's super important for all those readers to know that booksellers can't afford decent Wi-Fi.